So Vanda, let's dive into the first of the 8 steps of Mindtube, which is breathe. Tell us all about breathe.
A breath is so important and we don't stop and think about it. But if we're not doing it, we're no longer alive. So that's how important it is. And its importance is also as an automatic way to cut across the stress response that can negatively flood our bodies. So something happens, somebody pulls out in front of you in traffic, somebody says something nasty to you, and immediately what happens is a flood of all kinds of nasty things come into your bloodstream. If you will just stop and do the breath that we're about to teach, what you will do is grab the reins of control over your body. You will stop that automatic response happening. The first thing is that we need to be aware that we are taking a good breath. And so if everybody puts one hand high on their chest and the other one on their six pack and takes a couple of breaths to see which one is actually moving more, that will give them a bit of an idea of how they are at the moment. If it's the upper hand, then they are just taking little shallow breaths, which is meaning the brain is not functioning well. It should be the lower hand or both equally. So what we've created for step number 1 is what we call the square belly breath. And what we have here is that you will breathe in, and I'm suggesting 3 seconds. Hold your breath for 3 seconds. Breathe out for 3 seconds. And then stay empty if you can for 3 seconds. And then you start that again. Now you can see that that requires some consideration. And so consequently, it focuses you and it takes the control back again. If you do those 3-second squares, 5 of them will give you 1 minute. And so that's nice and easy to do. So the minute that somebody somehow interrupts and causes you stress, do your square belly breath and you will immediately have regained control. Very powerful.
Now, I'm aware that breathing is really powerful, having experienced it myself. What physiologically is going on when you've got this sort of, you all sort of tensed up because someone's cut you up in traffic, and then you do the breathing? What's going on there? How does that work?
Well, one of the first things that it does, it's interesting that every breath you take in, 20% of the oxygen of each breath is necessary for your brain to function properly. So if you start doing those shallow little breaths, then immediately your brain is starving. You can't think clearly. You don't make the right decisions. You react in a way that you regret afterwards. And so the breath immediately says, okay, I can think, I am clear, and it stops the flood of cortisol and adrenaline from automatically coming into your blood system. If it were only occasionally that you were stressed, your body would then reduce and get rid of it. But what happens for many of us is that we're stressed, and before we can come back down, we're stressed again, and before we can come back down, we're stressed again. And so we're in a constant state of high stress. Doing this breath will make an amazing difference in helping you to get control of yourself again.
So you talked earlier on about how the biggest benefit to Mindtube is creating resilience. Um, whilst people are practicing the Mindtube, you're saying they'll build up that resilience by creating a stronger and more powerful breath function by doing that.
Yeah, it's two things actually, Michael. Some of the steps can be pulled out as what I call SOS strategies, and the breath is certainly one of them. Do that whenever somebody gives you some kind of shock to your system in some way. And the others build as a part of the overall 8. So the breath is always the first one because it says, hey, body, we're back in control again. And then the others follow and build up to be overall helping your resilience.
Brilliant. One final question. I love the idea that you can pull this one out and use this as a separate strategy. Is there a limit to how many you need to do before it stops becoming effective, or can you just go on forever doing it and it become effective?
The square belly breath particularly, because it doesn't allow you to say over hyperventilate or have any negative effects whatsoever. It is a fine and good thing to do. I don't think you'd want to just do it all the time, but if you're having a really stressful day, there isn't a limit to how many times that you can do it to help you keep getting back in control, back in the driver's seat, back in managing what's going on. So it's limitless for its efficiency.